I want to talk in this video about two things that that might be interesting to put online. Up until now, my videos have been philosophical, trying to express some of my philosophical ideas. But in this video, I think I want to talk about some experiences I've had. Two main things that I think are quite interesting. But having said that, all this, what I'm about to say, to be honest, I can't even be sure if what I'm going to say is actually the case, is actually true. I believe that I had a near-death experience when I was 3 years old. According to my mother, when I was 3, I contracted meningitis, and I was basically unconscious for 24 hours, according to her. I've never bothered to look any of this up. Hospital records or so forth, but yeah, according to my mother, I became very ill, very quiet one day, and I don't know the exact sequence of events, but according to my mother, yeah, she took me to the doctor, and the doctor admitted me into hospital pretty much straight away. As far as I know, it must have appeared that I'd gone to sleep, but I was actually unconscious for 24 hours in total. So, of course, being a 3-year-old, it's never occurred to me. It never occurred to me then, obviously, that I'd had a near-death experience. It's only in the past 2 years, really, that I've come to the best conclusion possible that I have that what I experienced back then was a near-death experience. So my memory, if you can call it that, so I've had this strange thing floating around. I used to write about it a lot. I've had this strange thing floating around in the back of my mind for as long as I can remember. And yeah, it's kind of a memory. And it sort of bubbles up occasionally. Almost like deja vu, but not really. Yeah, and it's a memory of just an indescribable place of joy, happiness, excitement, incredible bliss. Of course, words can't describe. Words can never describe a near-death experience. From what I've read online, a lot of these people that have near-death experiences can't put it into words, and I've never been able to put my memory into words of what I remember. There are no specifics. You get people that say that they see a light, they meet with their past relatives, and the relatives tell them to go back. There's nothing like that. I mean, I was only 3, so I guess it was difficult to make sense of it or to remember specifics. I don't know. But it is the most powerful powerful entity, the most powerful memory that floats around in my psyche, whatever that is. It's so powerful that it has affected my life right up until I've came to the conclusion that it wasn't a near-death experience, because it's confused me years and years and years. I haven't known what it meant, what it was. Such a strange and so incredibly powerful, and so for a while I thought it was a past life. For a long time. For a long time I thought it was calling, you know. Boat. Yeah, so for a long time I thought it was a calling that I was having, maybe, because it was a memory. It is a memory of a place. That's the best way I can describe it, as a place, an incredible place where there were people. Definitely not a lonely place, a place with love and comfort and excitement and joy, but indescribable, the depth of it, the impact that it's had on my life until now. I mean, it's a lot of my life, most of my life, 90% of my life has been following that, trying to figure out what that is, and trying to find any place in this world that could possibly equate for that experience. Of course, I never found anything in this world. I mean, I've traveled to I've lived in places that most people have never even been to. The most obscure places you could imagine. Not anymore, though. I'm back here, my home country. But yeah, one interesting thing that I'd like to add about this, you know, which you don't get a lot of with near-death experience description, is that it's not, wasn't, although the experience was just so powerful, the memory is just so powerful and amazing, it's not a memory that is of some kind of absolute, or some kind of, I don't like to say perfect, because it could be described as perfect, but it had specifics to it. Like, somehow I knew that there were specifics, you know. It's not as if, I guess it's life, you know. The memory of being alive still, obviously, which is why it's an amazing phenomenon that people can have this experience of being alive while they're dead, or close to death, you know. You would imagine it would be the other way around. But yeah, one thing that I think is interesting to add to, like, the discussion on near-death experience is that my experience, it involves specifics, you know. And because it's such a vague, difficult memory to ever sort of dig up and examine properly, I don't know what those specifics are. It's very difficult to look at those specifics and figure out what it was. It's like, it's the best analogy I've ever heard. The best example, the best description was Alice in Wonderland trying to look through that tiny little door in such an awkward position, looking at, you know, with her head stuck on the ground, looking through a tiny little door out into something she knew was so beautiful, but she couldn't quite get her head around there to see what it was, you know, a beautiful garden out there. And that's the best way I've ever heard it described. Not that the writer was necessarily describing a near-death experience, but it really does really hit home for me when I read that. I guess I've read that story or watched the movie or whatever. Yeah, so that is my near-death experience, which I'm not 100% sure that it is a near-death experience, but after reading and you know, researching, I've come to the conclusion that this thing that I've carried around with me for so long now, that's confused me and bewildered me and put me in absolute awe, and excitement and expectation in life, was a near-death experience, because I've never, and I think the reason why I've come around to this conclusion is because I never found anything in my life that could ever possibly ever come close to that memory, that experience. And I was watching some video the other night on the internet about this, and there was a woman who was researching, and she said that the average person that has a near-death experience as an adult, it takes them about 8 years to come to terms with that near-death experience, to integrate. But she said for a child, that's different. It can take up to 40 years, 20 to 40 years for the individual to integrate that experience into their lives. And the reason is that when you're a child, you don't care about near-death experience. You don't want to know about that. You just want to play and live your life like any other child does. So it all makes sense. It's the one way of looking at myself that makes the most sense out of any other ways that I've tried in my life. And believe you me, I've tried a lot of different ways to make sense of my own self, my own psyche, my own mind. So as far as that goes, I can't really add much else, because the description is just so difficult to describe that memory of that place, of that experience, of that feeling, and it's something that sort of bubbles up like a kind of deja vu. It's something that, I'll be thinking of something, and then suddenly I'll remember, and it'll just sort of melt me away completely. Just I'll remember and think, oh yeah, that's that, that's something that reminds me. So it is something that may be linked, to experience a normal being alive experience. But I think that's the most interesting thing that I can add, that it wasn't like, as you'd imagine, if you're dead, you imagine whatever lies beyond is an absolute, and either something infinite, something absolute, something complete and whole, and it's either all or nothing, either all darkness or all lightness, either one or the two. But it wasn't that. It was a specific, but something not of this world, something so otherworldly, something that I knew was not of this world. Underneath, I've always known that underneath, and I've even written about this when I first started my journey in the real world, looking for that feeling. I knew underneath that I'd never find it. I wrote about it, and underneath, I've always known that what my plan was to go out, look for this place, this experience, and prove to myself that it's not of this world, that it's something else that's not of this conscious level. It's from a different level of consciousness, a different existence, this memory that I have. So yeah, that's kind of where I am at life at the moment. I've come to terms with that, and I guess I've given up searching for that experience, given up trying to recreate it, given up trying to find a place that could possibly be anything close to that. It's yeah, and I guess that sort of ties in with my ideology now that you know, what we experience, what we perceive, life in general is all that we know. All that I know is life. As my son so eloquently put it, he said, Dad, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the world, I don't believe in me, I just believe in life. And that's probably the best way I've ever heard anyone put it. I mean, obviously he gets that philosophy from me, but I think life is the best way to sum up what I believe. I believe in life, you know. That's all I believe in. I don't believe in anything else. I'm the biggest skeptic there is, you know. I believe less than what a scientist believes. On the other hand, I do believe that scientists are a step up from spiritualists. I believe that they have less assumptions, which is a good thing. Spiritualists have more assumptions. They assume a physical world and therefore a spiritual world beyond that, which affects the physical world. I don't believe that religion is on par with science. I believe that science is a step up from religion and spirituality. But there is something beyond that. Well, there's actually something less than that. There is a way to be even more skeptical of things than what scientists are. So there you go. And I guess I'd like to add as well, towards the end of this video, something that's another interesting thing that popped up in my life, inexplicable at the time. It was the Kundalini awakening, which I guess also, I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, this, first of all, I'm not saying that this incredible memory that I carry around with me was the memory of a near-death experience when I was 3. As I said, that's just the conclusion that makes the most sense to me. And so therefore, this Kundalini business, which happened probably when I was in my early 20s, I can't even say that was a Kundalini experience. You know, I can't even say that Kundalini experiences are real or that near-death experiences are real, but based on what I've heard from other accounts, that's what fits in the best. So yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I went through some really difficult times in life, upheavals and everything else that was happening with my family. Yeah, and I began to have these incredible rushes of emotion for no reason or for small reasons. Possibly, yeah, maybe I should make a entirely different video about this Kundalini, supposed Kundalini awakening that I had in my early 20s, but I guess I can briefly describe it as an incredible rush of energy that I would get, and I still get to this day. And at the time it confused me so much, I thought I was going mad, as a lot of people who have a Kundalini experience do. They think they're going crazy, they can't deal with what they're going through, it's too much, you know. And yeah, the basic thing that I had was an incredible rush of emotion that would come up, that would bubble up through me.